Hello, I'm Assemblyman Anthony Adams, and I'm pleased to be joined by the President of California State University, Dr. Al Karnig. Dr. Karnig, welcome.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you. I was really looking forward to a chance to speak to you about the state budget and specifically how the budget affects Cal State San Bernardino.
Well, to have a perspective on this year and next year's budget, I think we have to go back a few years, 6 years to 03-04.
Okay.
That's where the California economy was limping. Recessionary budgets back then, budget shortfalls for higher education and other institutions. So between 03-04 and the current year, 2007-2008, we've taken perhaps a $13 million budget cut.
And what does a budget cut mean to the university?
Well, how we get there as well as its implications. How we got there is that given the amount of money that we get from the state, despite the fact that we raised fees for students, mandatory costs like healthcare benefits, retirement benefits, utilities, and the like have always been greater than the additional revenues. And so we've had decreasing operating budgets, less money that we could spend on student education, maybe 6 to 7% less per student this year than 6 years ago.
And do you have the same kind of seismic retrofit issues that a lot of other schools have?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And those tend to cost millions of
Well,
dollars.
those are very expensive. And what's happened as a consequence is that in general, we've tried to protect as much as we could the academic programs of the university, assuring that students, A, who had access could get the courses they need and graduate in a timely way in a quality environment. But to do that, we've had to reduce maintenance, reduce the amount of student services, reduce some of the administrative background of the university facilities management and the like. So it's had those consequences. If the predicted budget consequences for the next year unfold, then there'll be much more dramatic impacts.
Right, and it's difficult to see how they won't. It looks like we're facing, it could be upwards of $16 billion in deficits that we're trying to close at a time when, frankly, our budget is largely composed of three elements: education, health and human services, and corrections,
Right.
with the remainder being a very small portion of it. So it's one of those areas where it's almost impossible to not look at as you're trying to close massive deficits.
Right. Yeah. I think the things that we need to understand is that we live in an overall ecology, and we will be impacted. There's no question. We just hope that those who make decisions understand the short-term and the long-term consequences.
Well, tell me about that.
Fact
I think I've heard the argument before, but I'd like to hear it again. What is, in your estimation, the long-term damage to the budget cuts that may occur now?
Yeah, the long-term damage is not having college graduates. The Inland Empire is almost, I apologize for saying it this way, almost a third world nation when it comes to college attendance and college graduation. We have an area of 4 million people that's bigger than 24 or 25 states.
Do you think people are just choosing not to participate, or do you think there are barriers to education?
Well, I think they're not receiving the appropriate acculturation and socialization. So what I began to say was that in every state in this country, including California, more than 50% of the kids go from high school directly to college. It's only 1/3 of the students in the Inland Empire.
No kidding.
Yeah. And so we are one of those places where we need more and more higher education. And if we're going to weather the economic storms like this one, we have to have college educated people in much larger numbers and the kinds of jobs that require a college education.
And it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as the economy progresses towards a more technologically advanced society, we're going to be more dependent upon college-educated people into the workforce.
Without question, and as we've all become increasingly global citizens, the competition is no longer with Texas or Florida. It's with a variety of countries abroad.
China's and the Indians.
Exactly,
People like that who
for
are competing.
sure. Countries that have very great emphasis on higher education, very great emphasis on technological skill development. I think you're right.
I really appreciate your insight. And I guess we're going to be partners in this together as we try to
We
get through
are.
this budget.
And I do want to say thank you for all the support you give to higher education. It really is deeply appreciated.
It's really my pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Karnig, so much
Thank
for
you
your time.
very much, Anthony.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you come back and join us again real soon.